everyone being here this evening for the City Council meeting, and like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if they kindly remain standing for our invocation this evening, which will be returned by Councilman Shannon. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we do again ask for your guidance and help this evening and in the days leading into the future. We give you thanks for all things that we have been blessed with. We thank you for all that are here this evening, and we ask for your blessing on them and their loved ones. And we pray for those things that are unspoken and all those that are in need. We ask this through our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, moving right along, we'll open tonight's meeting with an opportunity for citizens' concerns. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the mayor and city council on the record in the open public meeting. No immediate action will be taken on these issues in the interest of fair and transparent government, and all issues will be investigated, researched, or addressed as necessary with the consensus of the city council. Is there anyone who'd like to stand and speak to the city council? You're welcome to. Please take the podium and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Bill Storms. I live at 13424 Kansas Avenue. There's a couple of things I was wondering about. One is I had problems with panhandlers along K7 and Kansas Avenue and Tulip. People begging for money for a while there. They were on K7 itself, leaving garbage. When I called the police department about it, they said that there's no city ordinance for panhandling. So I found that distressful that there's strangers walking up to your car aggressively asking for money. I did bring copies of Kansas City, Kansas ordinance, which I think is pretty good. The only difference is that I think that it's missing portions for legitimate businesses like Kiwanis, Rotary Club, the firemen. It doesn't really have any procedure on how to get a permit or how they're able to also solicit money on the side of the road.
Okay, yeah, please, if you'll have a copy for
One for everyone.
one for everyone in the city clerk.
Over to Amber, and maybe to Sharon.
The one's for Mike, isn't it?
There's a couple extra here.
Okay, I'll put one for Mike, and then I'll get
I'll see that he gets it.
And the other
Please.
thing is I'd like to see about getting a no parking sign posted back in front of my residence again about 12 years ago. It was taken out when an accident occurred and took out the stop sign. Well, they put, sorry, not the stop sign, but the speed limit sign. They replaced the speed limit sign, but not the no parking sign. And since then, I will thank the Long Springs Police Department for, enforcing traffic along Kansas Avenue, but they've left cars parked in a no parking zone and a double yellow, and where my house is right where it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. So it's already bottled up there, and with them allowing cars to park there, that they pull over, it's causing more of a traffic issue, I believe. And also, it's bad for me trying to get in and out of my driveway.
Very good. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I will certainly pass that along and have both those issues addressed, and we'll get information back to you concerning all of this.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
Just make sure you have his phone number or his address and name, because I didn't get it. On to anyone else that would like to stand and speak to address the city council. You're more than welcome, please.
Well, you guys all look familiar.
Oh, I didn't.
Mickey Hilton, 13840 Wood End Road. And I was just going to ask the city council to maybe help us out a little bit. The event center that was put in down on Wood End, one of the things that they were supposed to do, and I hope everybody remembers this, was when they closed the event, they were supposed to direct the traffic down to 142nd Street. They haven't been doing that, and the traffic is coming back on Wood End. And the other thing we're getting from them is they're throwing their beer cans out on the property. Heidi's had them thrown on hers. I talked to Cindy, she found beer cans on hers. Sean had them on his, and I've just found one between Lester and I. But like I say, common sense will tell you what it is. It's they're not throwing them out when they're coming down Wood End. They're leaving with beer, and I'm sure they're chugging it down to get rid of the cans before they think they're going to get stopped, maybe. And like I say, we've had no problems so far. Like Heidi said the other night, their music was so loud she could hear it up at her house. And I told, I got to thinking, if they got to play it that loud, they ought to start giving hearing aids out to them old people down there. But like I say, it was one of the things that they said they would do. Now, they've got a sign down there that says right turn only.
That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah, but with no security like they said they would to direct them out, they keep coming back. And like I say, that's something I think that Mark, who was one of the people that was down there, was very nice. Now, Mark, at first, he would call, or we could call and talk to him, but Heidi's been trying to get a hold of him, and he hasn't returned no calls. And I don't know. I don't think Mark is the kind of guy that's doing it deliberate, so maybe it's something, but just hopefully this is something we could get taken care of. And the other thing is, I'll make a quick note of it, is I've been going down on Saturdays to the great farmers market they have down there and selling pecans for the Lions Club. And this gentleman right here was down there Saturday also, and one of the vendors talked to him and about seeing if they could put some more signs up somewhere to draw more people down there. Now, like Saturday, I thought it was selling pecans up in the cemetery because there was nobody down there. But those people, those vendors that come in down there, they're very nice people and they work really hard. And I talked to one of the ladies down there who, she said that the people that are down in the booth are volunteers. And I guess they spend quite a bit of time volunteering. And so I don't know if they've done it in the past, but I think once the season's over with, if those people that spend so much time volunteering, if the city could maybe have a moment and recognize them after the market's closed or something down there, just to give them, tell them thank you. So, but anyway, like this lady told Bob, anything that the city could do to bring more attention to it, they would certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Hilton.
Thank you.
Anyone else that'd like to stand and address the council? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes minutes from the August 27th City Council meeting, claims for city operation, and the Public Housing Authority claims. Anything to be pulled by the staff? Citizens? Questions, concerns, comments from the council?
This is the budget items, right? So you mentioned.
The claims for city operation?
Yeah. Is that part of the budget stuff?
I'm sorry, it's not the budget for the,
Sorry, not the budget, but the items spent. You're
Yeah.
making sure I'm.
yes, the claims for city operation.
Correct, thank you.
Do you want to pull that?
I don't
You
have
just have a
full-
question?
I just had a question, or more of a statement about it. I was curious if we have any direction towards trying to lean towards local shops and suppliers more so than outside vendors, such as the reason I ask is I was looking at when I was reading through those, there was about $1,700 in purchases from Lowe's, which is approximately a 30-minute trip outside of town when Vestalee is literally 5 minutes away from the majority of our places. And we spent, I think, $100 at Vestalee, and the only thing that was on the Lowe's receipt from the public housing section as well as the normal registry was a refrigerator. And I understand that can't be purchased from Vestalee, but I think would be a lot better or more diligent spending the money rather than at Menards, Home Depot, and Lowe's, just trying to pop over to Vestalee. I mean, like, they got stuff like a 25-foot tape measure. I mean, I don't know why they're driving 30 minutes to go buy a tape measure when Vestavate, I guarantee, would have it. And that's just something I'd like to bring up or bring attention to.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, vote please. Oh, I'd entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as introduced.
Second.
No other concerns, vote please.
Stephen?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to the regular meeting. Regular meeting agenda item number 1, comprehensive plan, BSCP number 34 for Canaan Center, second phase, lot 1. Staff?
Good evening, Mayor, Don Sloan, City Planner. This is actually undoing what was done for Windridge Estates when they platted the property. This is the one piece that abuts just to the west of the Super 8 that requests to revert it back to commercial. Comes to tonight with unanimous recommendation to approve 2.7 acres, which is part of Lot 1 of that plat. Don, I couldn't be here tonight, but if you have any questions, I'm glad to try to answer. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Anything to add? Citizens, anything to add? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan change from high-density residential to commercial designation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start down here. Mr. Reeves?
Nothing additional.
Nothing.
I was curious, is this already slated, like there's already development slated for this? I was asking a question about it earlier. It's just, and are we just rezoning this so they can sell it? Or do we have,
We don't, it's there, they own it, they asked for it. We don't have a dog in that fight. But the original zoning was commercial. And when the 40 units that are under construction up there, it's part of that Windridge Estates. This is a upzoning from what was a downzoning from C2 to R3, now R3 back to C2 from this piece. It's basically extension at south of Bridge Drive.
okay, so there's nothing slated for this particular plot
They
yet?
had an LOI for it, but it pulled out, but
They had a what?
an LOI.
I don't know what that is.
Letter of intent,
Oh, okay.
and it was, they wanted everything agreed. Kind of pulled it, but the potential there for commercial is pretty high, so that's why she wanted it back to commercial.
Gotcha. Is there any reason why we wouldn't just wait until they have another letter of intent rather than zoning it right now?
Well, it's not our ability to wait or make deals on LOIs or development or anything else. It's her, she owns it, she made the request. The request comes to you with a unanimous recommendation of zoning.
Okay, let me
The property owner requested that the comprehensive plan be changed.
change.
And so that's what we're doing right now, but next will be a rezoning that the property owner is also requesting.
Okay. I guess the reason I was asking is because of the commercial entities that are up there haven't been doing the best in the past 10 years to begin with, and I'm just kind of curious why we'd want to revert it to commercial whenever commercial, unless it's been through at least one phase of foreclosure, hasn't done that well anyways.
The interesting thing, and the mayor's aware of this because he's on the planning commission at the
Okay.
time in 1996 when this thing was rezoned. It was actually done twice, 2 or 3 different things. What's been done by the development, the extension of 131st Terrace and Canaan Center Drive extension, so now it loops.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee if that was done in 1996, we would not be talking about apartments being there at all. So that development, though, has now spurred the ability to go either way. And in the case of this one, it went, the desire by the applicant is to go back to commercial on this one, which is pretty high. She's got a 2-phase development. She's she's phase one right now with the 40 with the potential for some others, so.
Yeah.
But that road loop has been the nemesis for that subdivision that's now, when the council accepts it here probably the next couple months, that'll fix that issue, so.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And this is the farthest south property or the lot in this section that is all the way down towards I-70.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anything? Seeing nothing else, vote please.
Early,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
motion passes.
Wow, voting. Exciting. On to item number 2, the rezoning of BSZ 142 Canaan Center second phase. Staff.
Again, this is a follow-on compatible to that rezoning from R3, returning it to C2. The ordinance is before you tonight to approve, as you've approved BSCP 34. Again, the potential for development of commercial being adjacent to commercial is a lot higher now with that road network being completed. It comes to you again, unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anything else to add, citizens? Questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the ordinance to vacate the 2nd Street ROW.
No.
Go up one.
Rezone.
Oh, sorry.
Change the future
I
land.
like this one. This looks easier to read now.
It's harder to say.
Oh, God, I read the other one. Approve an ordinance to change the future land use map of the comprehensive plan for high density to a commercial designation and change the zoning from R3 multifamily residential district to C2 general business district classification.
I'll second that one.
Man, that was, I should have waited.
And we'll start down here. Anything?
I've already done it.
No good enough.
All right. Seeing none, vote please.
Cannon,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Early,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
motion passes.
On to item number 3, vacation EV-106 Second Street right-of-way vacation. Staff? A vacation.
City planner. Now, this was easy to say, at least to read, but it's not easy. It wasn't easy for us to get through it. There's actually 3 actions here coming for you tonight, of which the Planning Commission only had the jurisdiction really on one. And that's the vacation request. There was the building, this is the fuel house building, the old mill property down there. The building actually sits in a right-of-way that was platted back in 1914. For some of 1914 and 1922. So what Wiley Salisbury is here tonight. He's the principal behind Old Mill Properties LLC, commonly now known as the Fuel House. The request is just within the existing, where the building sits in the right-of-way. That's one of the actions before you tonight. Again, it comes to you with a unanimous recommendation to approve, with subject to those 5 conditions. In your packet tonight is an exhibit that shows the next action, which is a dedication. There's a triangular piece of property that juts out into the Bluegrass 2nd Street area. And for some oddball reason, whether they just, my guess is they laid the road where it was easier to lay and didn't pay any particular attention where right-of-way was. That's just kind of what we figured out. The third piece, which is really, and you'll note in there that the chairman of the Planning Commission, who is an attorney at law, actually added this condition in there, but that the Planning Commission, by unanimous vote, recommends the city negotiate with for the acquisition of that piece known as the acquisition piece. All 3 come to you with a unanimous recommendation of what they can do. Wiley Salisbury, the owner, again, is here tonight. Glad to answer any questions. This was harder to write than it was to read, probably.
Well, and common sense certainly was the easiest part of it, so.
So we combined them all three together mainly because land use issues coming to the council are best at least reviewed and some comment made by the planning commission, which is prudent. Therefore, we recommended that's what they did, and that's what they did. Glad to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anything to add on citizens? Nothing to add? No? Very good. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance to vacate the 2nd Street Road subject to the 5 land or listed conditions, except the dedication of Bluegrass Drive Row, and recommend negotiating with Old Mill Properties LLC for acquisition of the requested 50-foot city railroad row.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and we'll start down here. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I don't get to go on vacation, I guess I'm okay with this.
I'm just happy he's dedicating the right-of-way there rather than putting a toll gate on.
Nothing.
Nothing. I'm just glad there's new structures going in and reuse of old structures.
We like the old.
I was curious, probably from Rick, maybe, because you'd mentioned it in your notes. Do you know when the sewer line will be, you said there's preliminary for it? Do you know when it's supposed to be slated to be coming through?
That's the preliminary route that we've got on to bring sewer down from Count. We're actually, one of the items tonight on the agenda is a sanitary sewer master plan, and we'll take a closer look at that alternative versus other ones.
Gotcha.
So we want to keep that viable.
Correct.
So
That's what I understood that portion of it. Did you guys have any inclination or intention to pave it right away? And the reason I asked is just to save you the 40 or 50 grand would be.
No, we don't have an intent to do that immediately, but ultimately, yes. We want to probably just asphalt that, and with understanding that certainly the city's got to have access and a easement, for whatever runs through there, whether it's sewer or water. I'm not sure exactly where everything goes, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much a given. We just want to improve the property and improve that area.
The area, okay, cool.
So,
Well, I guess a personal request from the contractor side, if you could, or wasn't there something about them coming to us through planning or coming to planning before they do any additions to it?
Site and landscape plan required to be approved by the planning commission, yes. If that passes into the quitclaim deed or the restrictions placed on it.
Okay, cool.
we have intent to do that as well. I guarantee there won't be any argument between any of us right now it's gravel and small railroad ties and whatever, so we would obviously want to build some berms and dress that up and, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but trees and maybe some grass back, put some grass back and make it so when you come around the corner, it's like, wow, that looks really nice.
Of course.
We're really anxious to get some of that done.
Get it rolling.
We can get through this, so.
Okay, gotcha. That's all my questions.
Sure.
Yes.
I did notice it looks a lot nicer with the AB3 or whatever's down there now, and it looks like it's been rolled out and that's really nice, better than what was there before. So even the new gravel parking lot is nicer than what it was. So if they continue in that direction, it'll be a great addition. So thank you very much. I notice you're still doing a lot of work down there.
Yeah, we're going full board.
Yeah.
Trying to get some future tenants in there, that it's too premature to really speak on that. But there's a ton of interest from some pretty exciting people, so.
Very good.
I can't wait to share that with you. That'll be fun, but I mean, at this point, it'd be too premature.
But looks great having a hole in the wall, so,
Yeah.
you know something's happening, so congratulations. I know how nerve-wracking that can be to have a hole in the wall, and
Yeah, a little bit.
very good. Seeing nothing else, vote please.
Becky?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Passes.
In that. Congratulations, thank you very much, and all the continued support. Yeah, those little, it was I'm sure, harder to write than it was to read.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's even easier to understand why we needed to do all that. So it's just common sense, and I appreciate you going through the many steps that it takes to do that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I apologize, we built our building on your land.
Or your grandpa, or our great-grandfathers
Yeah,
would have done
right.
that, yeah.
Exactly.
Oops. Who knew that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Forgot to-
Where you're going, we won't need roads.
Yeah, I saw that on the plat. That was cool.
All right. On to item number 4, Water System Master Plan. Staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Rick Sod, Public Works Director. This item pertains to the water master plan that the department and the city uses for future planning for our water system. Prior master plan was done in 2006 by Wilson Company. Some of the items that were in that plan need to be revised or looked at again. Some items were completed, some items were not. The intent of this new master plan is to basically update and revise the current one. We sent out a proposal May 17th. We had two submitted, one from Bartlett and West and one from our city engineer, Wilson Company. Staff reviewed those submittals as far as scope of work and the scoring items that are in the memo there regarding experience and understanding of the project scope and delivery schedules, etc. Bartlett and West came up with a higher score. We're recommending to award the water master plan to Bartlett and West engineers. Estimated cost is $49,392. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments from the citizens? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Water System Master Plan proposal by Bartlett and West Engineers for an estimated amount of $49,392.
Second.
Very good.
We'll start down here, Mr. Shannon. Sir?
Will this be going onto GIS? When you guys get this done?
You know, it's not part of this job. We actually have GIS up and running, so our water system's on GIS right now.
Is that accessible by citizens?
No, I don't believe so.
Typically, we don't, just because of some of the
Infrastructure.
related to access to that.
Yeah.
Part of the master plan for both this and the sanitary they will update the GIS components. Like Rick said, we already have a lot of that, but it's making sure that it's almost correct, but also that we have it in a way that we can share that as we have conversations with developers and otherwise.
We do share our mapping with developers when they ask, but as
Yeah.
far as putting it out public, we have.
Okay, because I was on there the other day and noticed that the button didn't work for us. I was curious about it. I'll pop in next time. I'm curious. Oh, that's all I got.
I have no questions. From me.
Yes. Does this action plan encompass any of the properties that are on the end of
Yes.
water lines so that they can be remedied maybe first? Or very close to first?
We'll take, there's several areas in town where we've got dead ends in any of the master plans. Actually, the ones that we spoke of before, like off of Lakewood and those areas, were not on the original map. And so we've got some areas tagged right now that engineering will take a look at.
I know there was other areas than Lakewood, that's why I phrased it the way I
Right.
did.
There's a few in town where we've got, some dead ends will not be fixed. Other ones we'll take a look at.
Okay, I'm just wanting to pass the news on as best I can.
Bill, both of this, just like we also have stormwater master plan that we're working on currently. The intent of that is to go through and at least allow the public to come in and be engaged in this process so that, like Rick said, we don't have a full scope of all the issues in the city. We have a good finger on that pulse, but we want to give folks an opportunity to come in and have that discourse with us and the engineering firm so that we can prioritize those plans and an actual CIP to be put to, over a 5, 10, 15-year period.
I saw that there was an element for prioritizing, and I was just trying to pump things in there, input in there already or something. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? Vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Motion passes.
On to item number 5, which is our water system master plan. I'm sorry, sanitary sewer master plan. Staff?
Yes, sir. Rick Stoller, once again, Public Works Director. It pertains similar in nature to the water master plan. The current one was completed in 2005 by Larkin Associates. Once again, some of the items were not completed, some were. We'll do revisions to that plan, take a fresh look at our sanitary sewer system, and some analysis of the wastewater treatment plant. Once again, we sent out proposals on May 17th. We actually got back 4 proposals on the sanitary sewer. Once again, we did evaluations. Bartlett West did come up with a high score again on their submittal based on the criteria that we judged it on. We're recommending awarding the sanitary sewer the master plan to Bartlett West. Estimated cost $47,613.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve sanitary sewer master plan proposed by Bartlett and West Engineers for an estimated amount of $47,613.
I'll second.
Been seconded. Questions, concerns, comments, and we'll start down here with Mr. Reeves.
Good.
Sir?
Oh, good. Good.
Somehow 47,000 doesn't sound that bad for such a massive, I'm just kind of impressed. Yeah.
I was curious, does this include, whenever they do these, will they show inlets or access points to the sewer?
As far as service lines, you mean?
Correct.
No.
How do we, was that on the most recent thing when they scoped them?
No. I mean, generally, service lines are put in when development is done. So as far as the existing services, we've got some really old maps where there's some services in the old part of town, but anything newer, like Lay Valley or Cedar Ridge, we would go back to those construction drawings.
Of course, yeah.
All where those taps are at. We don't normally, at least at this point, we don't show them in our GIS mapping.
You don't show,
We just haven't picked them up.
you don't show what?
The service taps.
Okay, gotcha.
For the individual houses we're talking about?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, because we had some issues on Emerson with, I think you might have came down there for one of them, or one of your guys did.
Trying to find them sometimes.
Yeah, trying to figure out which ones are the gutter rainfall ones that we can cap, and then which ones are the actual housing access, and I was trying to figure out a way to differentiate those.
I mean, it's tough in the old part of town, probably. I mean, we show the taps. You're talking about where the roof drains are possibly connected to the sanitary sewer system?
Yes, sir, correct. Yeah.
We'd like to find more of those in town.
Yeah, we found a whole network of
We've
them.
got some smoke testing in town to try to find those because we don't want people sending rainwater down.
Yeah. Okay,
But this master plan will not delve into it.
gotcha.
And the scope of service for the master plan will be basically to long-range planning, short-range planning, needs, acquisitions, right-of-way, that kind of suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I don't believe it's going to get into details as far as right-of-ways and acquisitions and things like that. I mean, basically, what the master plan we'll take a look at is drainage basins. The existing master plan, like I said, was done in 2005, showed some directions as far as where to put large interceptor pipes. I mean, mainly on a sanitary sewer system, that's what they're looking at, is the main pipes. Developers will build the interior, the laterals, what we call the laterals coming off of those for development. So anything from development driven would not be included in a master plan. As far as the pipes, we would just show large interceptors where they would make those big connections at.
And other things that the master plan would do?
Like I said, we're going to take some look at the wastewater treatment plant, long range. When you're looking down the road for 35 years, it's somewhat of a planning type comp plan mix of land use. That'll get looked at pretty hard. Some of our land use right now is tough to categorize because as long as it stays ag, it's tough to put pipes in those areas. You're talking about zoning, like commercial.
Correct.
As that zoning changes, it's easier to try to figure out what type of infrastructure you need for those areas. But some of the long-range stuff, like on 122nd or Stillwell, but in some of those areas, they won't spend a lot of time as far as putting in networks of pipe systems and stuff. We've got a plan to put a large interceptor in the Wolf Creek Basin and kind of pull back on that some years ago.
Okay. Very good. Other questions, concerns, sir? No. Seeing nothing else, we're ready to go. Vote, please.
Mackey?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Uh-oh.
Filter media.
Yeah, filter media, but our tech got in my way. Item number 6, which is the filter media replacement.
I have that one too. Our council, Public Works Director, slide pertains to awarding the contract to actually remove and install the filter media that we met with council 2 weeks ago regarding the purchase of that media equipment or media, which is on order. We had 3 bids come in. Walter Board Construction was the low bid at $43,000. We did get extremely good references on that company. As far as I knew, they had not been working in the city before. We're recommending awarding the contract to Walters Morgan Construction, $43,000. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anything else to add? Questions from the citizens? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to award a contract to Walters Morgan Construction Incorporated for a filter media replacement project in the amount of $43,000.
Second.
Made and seconded. We'll start down here with any questions, concerns, or comments.
Just an observation that it was amazing when I saw that Rick was very accurate when he said the difference in the price. It was almost $30,000, $40,000 difference if they're doing the media instead of us purchasing it.
Yeah, they had it at $26,000, I think was right. It was $69,000 with the filter media and $43,000. And the big advantage is, just to reiterate a little bit, and I think I mentioned it somewhere in here, is that media is due to be in like 2 weeks. And otherwise, if the contractor ordered it, we'd be another 4 weeks out.
Wow.
Because that's how long it lives right there.
Very good.
Nothing.
Anything?
No, sir. Nothing.
Seeing no other questions, concerns, or comments, vote please.
Reeves?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to our reports this evening. The first report, City Manager's report.
Just to follow up on item 1 for everybody, as I know it's a big topic of discussion. If you recall, current owners of what we call the Thriftway site, they have come in and signed an agreement with the city to essentially move forward with CDBG application for the site clearance, and then basically the raising, and then bringing the building, or excuse me, the site back to a seated sort of lot. We're working on getting that information sent out to selected state contractors. The state, for CDBG applications, you have to be verified through the state. So there's two components of that we're working through. We hope to have a public hearing as well as the award of those two contracted services in front of you all in the next month or so. A quick timeline on that is that all these applications are due to the state by around November of this year, and we will hopefully hear back in the early part of 2019 as to who the awardees are from the state standpoint. So my point is there is no guarantee that there will be any money awarded for this particular project, but we are doing everything we can to submit a good application for the state to review in hopes that there can be money allocated to the project. Also, just wanted to note item 3. This is just an example of what we're able to do now because of the investment that the city council has made in the police department as far as the concerned. So we're able to start to actually track the types of crimes that are being committed in town. And as the chief likes to say, like, we get to put cops on dots. We can actually go through and figure out where crimes are being committed, what types of crimes, and then obviously deploy the police department to address those situations. Also, you guys all would have received a letter from the school district related to the crossing guard efforts. I'm happy to answer any questions related to that. I want to quickly go over this conversation. It's been a conversation that's been going on with the school district administration for some time. It actually goes back to last year. We had a conversation between the PSC principal, myself, the chief of police, and the superintendent in March, where this conversation was more or less decided upon as to how the two entities would work together. Ultimately, the decision was made that the school district would assume the crossing guard efforts, which is pretty common in this area specifically. The school district oversees the crossing guard efforts. There's a certain amount of liability as well as training requirements. There was concerns about the ability of the city to actually staff that, as well as how we were actually allocating wages towards that as far as hours worked and compensated. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions related to that. I also will note that the school district superintendent informed me this morning and validated on their website that they actually are hiring for that cross guard at the Coney intersection. So
Good.
I just leave that there as well for your all consideration. But like I said, happy to answer any questions related to that or any other questions you may have.
Thank you. Moving on to other reports will be the city council items, and since we've been flip-flopping, I'll flip-flop down here. And Councilman Shannon, do you have anything tonight?
One real quick thing, Sean, on that Thriftway redevelopment now, hopefully, you know, they will be awarded the funds. Now, if, not being pessimistic, but just out of curiosity, do they still foresee themselves going forward if they are not the lucky winners?
Yeah, I haven't heard whether or not that would stop any development potential that they foresee. Certainly, it would put a little bit of a damper in their
Well, sure.
fill that, but I haven't heard from them
Okay.
that would stop anything that they would.
I hope not. Okay, sorry, that's it.
Sir?
My question is on the Thriftway thing as well. If they are awarded that, will we be requesting, or will part of the request be, we'll demolish it in lieu of them putting a building on it, or will it just be we're handing them a green space?
Well, they own the property, so the way that CDBG processes happen in the state of Kansas, CDBG is Community Development Block Grant, and the way that it works is we're not a direct entitlement city, which means that we don't meet the minimum criteria for population predominantly. So the state will actually administer those funds and divvy those funds out to applicants based on different buckets in terms of what they're doing. This particular project is, again, for these developers. The way that the CDBG works is that the city is actually the one applying for the funds, but it's actually the developer or the property owner that's going to be the one that's going to be ultimately receiving the funds.
You're receiving benefit.
So we're not necessarily giving them a green space. We're just, again, assisting the developers and ultimately clearing up a dilapidated, blighted structure. And we're doing that by basically the staff time allocated to this, and then any additional time that may come about from just the administration of it. Again, there are two components that we have to go out for bid for. One is engineering or architecture, which is basically what has to go into removing the site. And then there is a grant administer that's part of that. So you have, both of those have to be verified by the state, or you have to be part of the state listing on it. And that's what we're going to be hopefully going out and soliciting folks for, and that would come back to you all to approve that, as well as a public hearing that would have to be held about just the nature of the project, which again, this is simply the removal of the blighted structure and then returning it to grass. Long story.
Yeah. Is there any way or anything to, I guess, almost push that along? And the reason I ask is from the taxing base of having a structure and something that's taxable there to just dirt, which is obviously lower value.
Yeah, there's not necessarily anything that we're doing or wanting to do at this point in time. Put together a development agreement and things like that, I think it would become overly complicated.
Yeah.
The reality is that the removal of that blighted structure on that property will have a significant impact on the property values of all the other properties around it.
Improved impact.
Improved, absolutely. Just food for thought would be, there was shortly after the recession in 2008, there was a Cleveland Fed put out a study related to just housing stock, dilapidated housing stock, and found that one single dilapidated structure on a single block has an impact of about $15,000 on all the other properties around it. So again, removing a very prominent building, I think, will only have a positive impact on the adjoining and surrounding properties.
So this is the first step along their development process. And this CDBG grant, the Community Development Block Grant, like you said, is a state grant. And the property owners are the ones that have to participate. So it doesn't cost the city anything to have this torn down. It's the owner's responsibility to do it, and he's applying for it. And we're trying to help him get it to help improve that property by tearing that down. And that's the time we're putting into helping them find a qualified grant administrator. And they've compensated us for the application amount and all that. If they're awarded the grant, I think it's an 80-20 grant, and they'll be responsible for 20% of whatever the cost of that is. So it's easy to figure out. So they still have a lot of skin in the game, and they're motivated not. They're going to be spending a lot of money, even though it's only 20%, to get that ready to develop. So it and of itself wouldn't tend to be of any positive advantage to leave that set for a long period of time. It still will cost them money to do that.
Does this grant include the parking area, which is basically like a mountain in itself now?
Yeah, it's removing the
intent
parking.
would be to clear the entire site and remove the parking surface. And like I said, it would be, in my understanding, the intent of the developers to put it on is grass or dirt. They actually put together and see that.
Because it would be through the process from the time it's torn down until the whatever happens is an extended period of time. It can never go fast enough. But, yeah, that would, from what I saw in the preliminary information about the grant, that would be removing the parking surface.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay,
Anything
thank you.
else? No? Ma'am?
You've asked all the questions that I wanted to ask,
got a
and
lot
there
of them.
is no telling about the time, right? But whenever I go past that, I'm so glad something's going on.
At one time when we talked about condemning that building, there was concern about fencing off and closing the parking lot. Is that parking lot just can remain open until they decide to close it?
At this point, yeah, I mean, we don't have any plans to go through and close off the parking lot from the city's standpoint. It's obviously in not ideal condition.
So aren't they still in violation of codes because of the poor status of the parking lot?
The codes or what they were noticed on was actually the thriftway portion of that building. So that wasn't necessarily related to the state of the parking surface as much as it was the condition of the building itself.
So they're not required to maintain that parking lot?
It's a private lot.
Okay.
At the end of the day. Like I said, what we've tried to stress to them and the previous owners is the condition of the building itself, not so much the parking lot.
So it's Parker beware at this point?
Yeah, again, it's a private parking lot. They could close off the parking on their own purview today if they'd like.
And they're liable for that public, or the, whatever use it happens to. I'm not going to say public use. Sir?
On the police reports there, those stats are helpful. It'd be nice if we could, once you start compiling that data, to stack it up year versus year, month versus month, to kind of see. And it looks like all 4 DUIs were due to the DUI check lane, if I'm reading that correctly. Are those very labor intensive to do, or expensive, or it seems like that's somewhat effective if you're closing in on 1% of the cars pulled over, you're giving a DUI?
Yeah.
The sergeant's reaction said a lot right there.
I assume that takes a lot of manpower, or...
If I'm able to address that, the stats on here are not accurate.
Oh, okay.
More traffic stops.
I was wondering about that 11 traffic stops. I was kind of like...
We have 11 probably today.
Wow.
So...
Don't tell me the software is not good. I don't want to hear that.
I'm not sure what happened there, but I can tell you there was a lot.
I thought everybody was just driving perfectly.
No sarcasm.
I did see in the Business Journal that we're close to top 10 in growth. We're at 12th, I believe, 6.36%. So that's nice to see, and hopefully these, the Fuel House, the Thriftway development, the Keenan, all this stuff, and of course the government services / police station investing, we see a few more people coming into our fair city. That's all I have.
Actually, I would like to address the letter in the crossing guards. And the only reason I'm doing that is an individual who's connected with the deputy sheriff's department had made a comment that the sheriff's department was supplying crossing guards within the KCK school system. And one of my big concerns has been the fact that county taxpayer dollars seem to get spent on programs only that give to only in KCK. And if that's the case, I'm a little not happy with the fact that they're not wanting to then provide those crossing guards out here as well. So if you can offer some clarity to that or do a little research, I'd sure appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's part of where these discussions have come from with the school district, is as we've tried to professionalize some of the things that we do as a city, we've found that there's some inconsistencies as far as what the city of Bonner Springs taxpayers are putting money towards, as far as resources being used outside the city of Bonner Springs proper. That's obviously an interesting component, as the school district serves 3 different cities. I'm not sure specifically off the top of my head about the arrangement between the Sheriff's Department and KCK schools. I know there is one there, but as far as the agreement in place, it's certainly something I can look
I
into.
mean, if they're paying, that's one thing, but if they're using taxpayers' dollars, then I do have a complaint that our taxpayer dollars are being spent in the KCK community for their benefit, but nothing here. Secondly, back to the police blotter. So if you'd asked a few months back what some of the things we hear most about, it was about speeding, traffic enforcement, as well as dogs running loose. And I know a lot of effort has been made with the reduction in, we see people coming into town, they're slowing down, the word's getting out there. But I do notice too that we're getting a lot of animal at large pickups, because I'm seeing the new animal control officer posting on a daily basis animals that are picked up. So do extend that appreciation to her. That would be it. Sir?
Yes, I have encountered some resistance or dissent from some of the citizens on our code enforcement in Bonner Springs not going to be a local person to come and speak to. And I have said, I think this is something we have put into place, or it's going to be in place, but it's nothing that necessarily is permanent. It's on a temporary basis right now. Could be continued, could be stopped. Is that correct?
I guess I'm not understanding, but the code enforcement as far as nuisances or?
No.
I think they're talking about IBTS and how
Yeah,
Building-
yeah,
building code?
building inspectors.
The intent at this point, the city council approved an agreement with IBTS to provide those building services. I guess that's an indefinite sort of appointment. We didn't budget for a building official as part of the 2019 budget, so that would require a reappropriation to fund a building official position.
And that's what their concern is. I'm just bringing this up so that you'll know what's happening out there,
Yeah,
you know,
I appreciate
grassroots
that.
level, because I did vote for that. But I was just trying to explain to them what happened, or where it's going, and just because it's going to be in place doesn't mean it's something that would have to be permanent. Am I correct?
No, certainly not. Again, it's something that the city council found it prudent to reinvest in that position. That's certainly something that we would be able to do. Again, that's at your discretion if you'd like to do that. I will say that I haven't specifically heard of any concerns related to IBTS as far as their craftsmanship or their work or their ability to.
I don't think that was the problem. The problem was that it wasn't somebody here at City Hall, or somebody that's not going to be here at City Hall for the people to come and talk to and say, well, we've got a problem with this code. I want to go speak to somebody in Bonner Springs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
You know, they got a problem with their house, and they've got it, they thought they had it fixed, and then they would have to come back in, and something isn't quite right yet, and so maybe some more groundwork there to inform people of how that's going to work might help.
Sure.
But I think there's a certain amount of it out there that's just, what's somebody here?
right.
And so I'm just letting you know, okay? Just like I say, I voted for it too, but. Also, north side of Metropolitan Avenue from Nettleton west, the grass there, weeds or whatever, are very tall. North side, well, not south, north side of Metropolitan, okay? Also, east side of Nettleton Avenue, south of Kansas Avenue, there's an area there that's, you know, behind Walmart. It's always been kept up before, but right now it's not. It's starting to get up there where it used to be taken care of. I don't know who took care of that, but it used to look nice, and now it's not going to unless something happens there.
Is that directly behind Walmart or
Yes.
the actual, the land, like a flat area?
Right.
Which one? They're two separate parcels. There's the parcel that's flat, that's,
The first 20 feet anyway,
okay.
from the curb back 20 feet to the east.
I can actually make a call about that one.
Okay. I don't know who that belongs to, but nonetheless, it used to
We're
look like...
talking in Deerfield.
No,
No,
behind
no.
Walmart.
No, no, no.
Oh, behind that property, the Deerfield.
The
The new Walmart.
The new Walmart. The Walmart Walmart, not the old Walmart, the Walmart Walmart.
Walmart, thank you. My apologies.
Behind Walmart, that's actually...
Extension short.
And, okay, that's...
That'd be a Miller.
Lakewood, just north of the Silver Hill Road, there's a tree that has shrubbery, bushes, weeds all the way around it that's past what I'd call encroaching on Lakewood Road. And so cars, when they go around that curve, they're moving past the center line to get around that a lot of the time. So maybe that needs to be taken care of. So I think that's those four things I've talked about there now. So.
The process we're in on those properties, FYI, that you all might hear about this. The street department, Public Works is sending out notices to those property owners that they need to maintain their property. So we're handling it initially from Public Works Department because we got a code we can somewhat push at them. If they do not take care of that within 60 to 90 days, we'll push it downhill to the code enforcement. It's a code enforcement situation. I will tell you that there are a few property owners in Bonner that have not maintained their properties as they should. There will be some pushback. Matt Beach was real concerned about that. I don't care, I guess. They need to maintain their properties.
Hopefully
In the city, property, it's up to the property owner to maintain their properties up to the curb, and they cannot allow shrubs, trees, or whatever to infringe on the driving traffic. In the past, Public Works Department has done some of that maintenance. We're not doing it. And it gets back to what Sean was talking about, of spending city dollars on things that should be done by private property owners.
Rick, a question, didn't mean to interrupt you if you were finished. When you just mentioned something, and this has always been, I think, it will definitely a concern of all of ours. You mentioned 60 to 90 days, and then it goes to code enforcement, which again, then there's, and I think this kind of falls into this nuisance, under this nuisance umbrella, which you'll be glad when this all gets put together. The question that I have is, these are adults. These are big boys and girls. Why do we have to give 60 days, 90 days? Why do we have to give second and third chances?
You know, my intention is probably to shorten that. Once again, we're treading on really fresh water here, I suppose. So I get exactly what we put in that letter. It might be 60 days, but eventually it should be moved back. You know, you give them 10 days, 15 days, you could pick some numbers and tell them that they need to. Some of it requires a fair amount of work. Shidley area up by Glenwood's another big area that's been a problem. Probably worked to cut that area last year. We have no intention of doing it this year. We're going to enforce it on the property owners that have not maintained that area for years, have not maintained that area, and they are required to.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned this, and I could see the wheels turning, and I think this is something, excuse me, that we all feel that we need to address, and that is, you know, so many chances, and this is the thing that has bothered me, and sometimes, and I think our police department is doing a very good job of it. I think when we did the breed-specific ordinance, when we did the snow, you know, keeping things off, and when a few people, and they'll probably hear about it, but that's too bad, you know, when people all of a sudden, it affects their pocketbook and other things, then maybe sometimes people get their sinuses cleared and take on responsibilities. And I realize there can always be an extenuating circumstance, but people have to be forthcoming and know that they've got a responsibility. If you buy property, you put a home on it, you've got to take care of it. And I like having to, be somebody that has to crack a whip, but the same token, we're not anybody's dog either, and I don't like sometimes seeing people try to be the dog and wags our tail. And so I'd be very inclined to see how this goes, and if we have to shorten stuff, and
Hopefully they'll do it before.
I would really,
That would be my
the
intention.
letter would be, great and
It's a
stuff.
courtesy letter we're sending.
Well,
We've
yeah.
got a few of them on the streets right now, so.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Mr. Reeves, would you like to continue?
Yeah, just pretty much whatever Roger said on that was a good thing. I've been mentioning the news ordinance several times, and just any kind of an update there.
I am taking it upon myself to rewrite the nuisance.
I can call it.
That initiative.
For the next few weeks for something that's the nuisance code. In all honesty, we had a conversation with the police department, myself, and our city attorney and city prosecutor. Like I mentioned in the last council meeting, what nuisances and similar types of things come down to is that there's a certain amount of due process that's allocated to people. As far as notice requirements, you have to provide a person an amount of time to actually be noticed and then to make corrections. Where we start getting into issues is related to habitual offenders. So that gets into how often you have to notice somebody in a given time period, also the definitions that we use, so on and so forth. So again, I basically left our conversation the other week, and in all honesty, I'll be working on this code and trying to draft that up, have that reviewed by the city attorney, and get something that they're comfortable with, that the municipal judge is also comfortable with in terms of enforcing, and then have it all presented to you all for approval as a new ordinance.
Sean, when you mentioned the word comfortable, what do you mean by that?
Comfortable to the extent that it's
Legal.
politically,
It's legal.
it's politically acceptable to you all. Administratively, it comes down to what we can enforce. But ultimately, it's what you all as a city council and governing body want to do from a political standpoint in terms of how much emphasis you want to put on this.
I appreciate this. This has been a process. We've had a change in the manner in which city conducts its business, and we've been a part of that for quite some time. There's been changes in personnel that have affected this. We're working in that direction. The problem has been there for a long time, so we're catching up to the problem. Sean has been working on this through the city manager, or through the city attorney for quite some time, but it's complicated even more with our community being impacted by seasonal situations. The snow ordinance that we worked through so much, one year we'll have not enough snow to even consider, and the next we could have 6 inches every Monday for 6 weeks. So it's, that makes it another aspect that makes it difficult. Same way with the weeds. This is the big, spring and late summer when we have rain. If we hadn't had rain, we wouldn't be near this spot we're in. So those are issues that will continue, and we have to have a nuisance ordinance that addresses all of that, as well as the habitual offenders and those that choose not to do what they need to do, just like you may mention. So it is a process, and if you have other questions or concerns, please reach out to Sean anytime.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing Sean at all, because he has been working toward this, and I know he's spent a lot of time on it because several of us have approached him about it. And so,
Just the apple. Very good. Nothing else? Anyone else, please?
As much as we love our beautiful new road surfaces, will we see stripes on some of those?
I think we're out for bid right now. We advertised for bids a few months ago. We actually didn't have anybody bid on that. So we are in the process of retrying that again. But yes,
Okay.
the intent, that's why if you go down a few of the streets, you'll see the center markers on there. So the intent is certainly for us to go through with strike those. We just have to find a willing contractor to do so.
Interesting,
You'll
thank
be on the
you.
next council meeting.
Very good.
We open bids.
I was gonna, Mr. Reeves, do you know what some of the issues were with the IBTS thing, or the building contractor side of things?
Basically, it was, there's not going to be somebody here to come and talk to.
Well, have they stopped in at the codes office? And I'm not trying to be.
Well, I'm not saying that there's not here today. I'm thinking, what they're saying is, when this goes into effect, and somebody needs to come down here, as they think they might, if they're doing a room addition, remodeling, yada, 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 and there's nobody here, they don't want that. They want somebody here.
Well, the reason I brought that up is I've got 2 projects I'm working on, and I've had absolutely no problems with IBTS.
And I don't doubt
Mark's
that at all.
been, I mean, he's responded within 6 to 12 hours. They had an inspector out, I called for I think a drywall or a insulation inspection on the project we're working on Emerson, and he had somebody out in literally 12 hours. I mean, it was later that afternoon.
And I can agree with you on that. I'm just reporting what I'm hearing from more than a few people that have approached me, and they want.
Yeah, well, I would just mention, like, for the safety of anybody who is curious, not really, from the citizen side, not really much has changed. It would mainly be for them, the contractors.
This is all residential.
And that's what I mean. If somebody wanted to come into City Hall, people can still do that and have a point of contact. What's changed is more of the contractor side, and if anything, it's simpler and much more efficient. I can send out PDFs and emails and do all this stuff, I mean, super quick, and I can call Mark or one of his constituents, and I don't have to deal with a single person, which, I mean, I love Brian by all means, he's a good friend, but it takes a lot of the burden off the city, and it's much more efficient.
And
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
And I explained that.
Yeah, okay.
And so, yeah.
And that's one of the things that we need to convey to everyone, and I think it's difficult nowadays to convey some of those nuances with some of the changes that are going on in professionalizing the city administration. One of those is we were, again, because of a change in personnel, darn retirement or moving or whatever happens, that whole department is in a state of flux, and over the next few months, there'll be quite a great opportunity to improve not only the level of professionalism and the opportunities for both individuals and contractors, but also improving the customer service aspect of somebody coming in and asking a question and being told no, but if you did this, you could, and having that extra level of service to be able to help residents, the individual.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention, I'm just the messenger here on this one,
Yeah.
okay? Because I'm an elected official, I'm putting this out there so you all know what's.
I'm talking for you two, not actually talking to you.
Very good.
As I've been told, this is for you two.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go on into the mayor's report. I was glad we got that building inspector discussion made. That's one of the aspects that has highly professionalized the city's manner in which we conduct business. I've heard it from several professional businesses, and they appreciate all the assistance that Don has given us. So, Don, all of the professionalism you've given to our city, we're going to try and use that as a stepping stone to continue to watch out for Bonner's best interests and go from there. So thank you very much. But that whole department is going to be in a state of flux, and change is always change. So tell them to, if they have any concerns at all, any questions, or hesitancies or anything. Actually, we have hired a gentleman to take care of that for us, named Sean Peterson, here at City Hall. Anytime they can contact him. The
422-1020.
the nuisance ordinance that we made mention of and the right-of-ways that need to be cleaned out, I did notice on Riverview this evening that someone on the south side of Riverview had cleared a right-of-way or edge of the road across from the new Wedding Barn Event Center. Yeah, across the street from there, somebody's cut out a lot of weeds and brush. Unfortunately, yeah, on the south side, unfortunately, it's piled in the street. At 7 o'clock this evening it was. So I appreciate whatever brush removal that's happened, but we'll need to keep all of our concerns on brush removal and how we take care of that after. The growth on Bonner, yes?
I wanted to thank probably somebody from the city that removed the dead deer that was across the street from me behind my mailbox. I don't know. Thank you.
I'm not sure, but Rick or the chief will know.
The city of Bonner Springs, you made mention, we're about 12th in growth in our metropolitan area. That's great news. I'm very glad that they're starting to recognize that. This last year didn't seem like a lot of things happened, but we had over $40 million worth of investment in the city of Bonner Springs. Over half of that was private investment. So there's a lot of things going on in Bonner Springs, and it just may not affect every single person every day. The stats from the police department, this is a work in progress, it sounds like. I understand that. That's great.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I texted the chief. He told me that the 11 traffic stops that you see on there only reflect someone who was suspended or who was driving without license or something like that. That doesn't reflect all of them, but the new computer system is amazing.
Well, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Some of these things some of these things I don't even understand what they are, but we get data and we start to really think data is great and we start getting addicted to it, or I do. I would greatly appreciate this kind of information. Doesn't have to be all of it every time, but on a regular basis, and maybe pushing that out through our city's social media, Facebook or newsletter, Twitter,
Real news.
all the different, or our local local paper, or our city or our county paper, Wyandotte Daily. Any of that information. It was something that a large portion of our community got a lot of information out of in the past, and I think that's something that we need to continue to, as we have this available to us. Thank you. And some of the opportunities I had as mayor, we had a nice meeting with the Wyandotte County mayors, Mayor McTaggart and Mayor Alvey and I met for breakfast and discussed a lot of issues going on across the county. We have planned a joint meeting with both the Bonner Springs Council, the Edwardsville Council, and the Unified Government Commission, and that's scheduled for next week.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Next Monday?
It's Monday.
The 17th. And it's at George Mine, and I don't have the time on the top of my head, but the 6 o'clock. Very good. And so that'll be an opportunity for us to convey some of these concerns that were mentioned to the Unified Government. I'm sorry, I pointed at you, but I meant Tom. Yeah, as well as others. There's some issues that Sean's already has on a list, but if you have any other concerns, be sure, if you would like to ahead of time, let Sean know about them so we can have any supporting information that we might need. Look forward to that, and it should be a great opportunity to help coordinate not only services, but the manner in which we provide local government here in Bonner Springs and Wyandotte County. Also, last week we had an opportunity to meet with the Wyandotte and Johnson County Mayors Council. They had presentations on the internet sales tax and the impact that could have for small communities, as well as the transportation issues and the state funding of transportation. So these are issues that all of our communities are having concerns about, and it's It's very interesting. Sean had more pertinent information than what was being given out at the mayor's meeting. So if you have any questions, please reach out to him. Another meeting that we're looking forward to, Sean made mention of the letters that we received from the school district. I'm glad that we've done that. Sean and I and school district administration, as well as that's a joint meeting too with other local governments that they have, both Kansas City, Kansas and Edwardsville. We'll all be getting together for a luncheon meeting in October. So we'll have an opportunity to discuss a lot of these things. Bonner Springs has enjoyed the cooperation and the value and the support and the wonderful education that the school district has provided to this community for, well, the community's 120 years old, so they weren't unified the whole time, but they've been here educating people that whole time, so, and longer. So we certainly want to continue to be as cooperative and assist them in any way we can. So that's another opportunity for us to work together. They're doing great things and have added a lot of value to Bonner Springs. This new tech center is not only the monetary investment, but the investment that it will have for young people's education in Bonner Springs is going to have a significant effect in our community, especially with trade skills that don't necessarily require college education. And those individuals that choose those areas, they're becoming more and more of them all the time, and they are supporting those areas with technical skill education that will provide them with a lot of opportunity in the future and to make a very nice living. So we have already had quite a few nurse certificates awarded to individuals who've gone through that training, and they are working their way through nursing school. So that's something that wasn't available back in my day, and they're taking advantage of it. That's all the highlights I wanted to cover. Oh, the purchasing. You made mention of our purchasing policy. Sean has information, or I'm sorry, probably Amber could cover that with you just as easily too, concerning our purchasing policies. If you have specific questions on item on a check, on the register, I've always reached out to them ahead of time so they can give me that information because they need to pull that or perhaps investigate that, because it's difficult to have all that here in at a fingertips notice. But yeah, there are policies and procedures, and I can't memorize the whole thing, but they'd be the person to go to for that. Any other questions or concerns for me, please?
Not for you specifically, but Lifetime City Council, I just got a text that the stoplight, or the street light at 138th and Morse is out.
Wow.
Do you have the power to turn it back on?
I don't, unfortunately.
JavaScript again.
Well, they'll probably get an LED street light there now, and we'll have to deal with the complaints on the bright light.
Awesome.
We've had more complaints with bright lights than we have with no street lights. And there are parts of this country
138th and Kansas Avenue.
that streetlights are not something that are requested, desired. A lot of this part, or a lot of certain parts of the country would prefer not to have streetlights. They're in rural areas, and it's always been considered a safety issue here, and the town has benefited from that in that regard. However, I went back to Virginia just last year or 2 years, it's probably been over a year now, but in this whole subdivision, you turn the corner and it was, all you saw is what your headlights showed on, and it was a whole subdivision, and it was the large lots, they weren't, houses weren't 30 feet apart, they were a lot farther than that, but it was noticeably different from this guy to go into that. So That leads me to one of my questions. Can those LED streetlights maybe have a visor on it to help with some of the, there's restrictions on how much light can go off of a commercial property. Are there visors that can help with directing that LED light onto the road surface as opposed to into everybody's bedroom windows?
Check.
I would appreciate any information on that.
There's actually engineering requirements as far as how much light you're supposed to broadcast onto the street, so that's what we sort of adhere to, is what the minimum candle, is kind of what it's called, or lumens. But there are sort of reflectors, and you'll see that, so.
Blackout curtains are your friend.
I was going to say, that's what curtains are for.
It really does, but if ours are the minimum, I don't doubt that in the least, but it is night and day different from the last. And so I'm glad we're addressing that. Thank you very much. I don't have anything additional. Any other?
We have an
Oh, please.
executive session.
Oh.
And I was just going to add one quick thing, because I know we kind of skipped over it, but Councilman Kipp asked a question about the DUI lanes. Those are grant-funded programs that we do, so we actually submit to the Federal Highway Administration. They do all sorts of saturation events, and then it's a grant program for the overtime expenses related to that. Just wanted to make sure that that was conveyed. And then for the executive session, we'll probably come up with next.
10 minutes executive session.
And then one little fast item on the streetlight issue.
Uh-huh.
I was going to mention that most of the streetlights in Bonner are actually owned by Wesco.
Yep.
We pay for the power, what the city pays for. So the lights themselves, so Westar is actually changing out,
Old lights to the LED.
because it's new technology. So
Maybe we can encourage them to have.
to Westar would be to see if they're doing any kind of visors, because technically it's their lights.
Okay, well, please let me know. Thank you. Seeing nothing else, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss real property pursuant to the exemption for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property, KSA 75-4319B6, with the open meeting to resume here in the council chambers at 9:10.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all for being here this evening.
All right. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to return to open session with no action taken.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. Seeing nothing else in our open public meeting, we're adjourned.
I love the fact